Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Atowak Cobra Steel Silver. This watch is available from Atowak.com for $1,999. Atowak are having a Black Friday sale event from Monday the 21st until Black Friday the 25th of November inclusive, and I understand they will be reducing the prices of their watches during the Black Friday sale by up to 25%. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the watch comes in a solid wooden watch box, which is protected by this black cardboard outer box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and inside the watch box is protected by this foam bag in shipping from any damage. So very well executed outer box. This is the watch box itself, as you can see, solid wood and finished to a high standard with black piano lacquer. Nice bevels to the top edge of the lid, stainless steel hardware throughout, and good attention to detail because on the base we have this felt panel, and this protects desks or tabletops from being scuffed or scratched by the watch box, and it means that it doesn't slide about. Stainless steel clasp signed with the Atowak logo, so very nicely finished. The interior is fully upholstered with a black PVC plastic. As you can see, the vinyl is very well executed, and the watch sits on the base on a padded pillow cushion as one would expect, also fully upholstered with black PVC vinyl to a good standard. So nice presentation, good quality wooden watch box, and it makes a refreshing change from the default option of using a plastic or cardboard watch box. With regards to the items, one gets this cardboard box, and I'll show you what that contains. Inside the box we get this jeweler's screwdriver with a flathead screwdriver, and this is for resizing the screw pins in the bracelet. And inside the box one also gets this leather strap, which is an alternative to the stainless steel bracelet fitted to the head of the piece. Good quality leather, nice grained matte finish to it. Now it is padded at the stainless steel bar end, and as you can see, rather than using conventional spring bars, they've got double screws, as you can see, flat heads on both ends. And this stainless steel bar engages with a quick release system on the head of the piece, which I'll test. Plenty of holes in the strap to allow for fine tuning the length. This will fit up to a 7.5 inch wrist, flawless stitching to the top side and the underside, which is contrast tan finished. So good quality strap, does feel very soft and supple to the grained leather, although it does feel stiffer as one would expect at the padded stainless steel bar end. I'll show you the buckle and tang side. The buckle is signed to a high standard, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, nice angular profile to it, no sharp edges. Signed with the Atowak emblem as one would expect. Two keepers, one's bonded into position and one slides up and down as one would expect. Embossed with Atowak's emblem, flawless stitching, and again we have the double-ended flathead screws, as you can see on the stainless steel bar. So it does feel stiff around the padded end of the stainless steel bar, but then it's soft and supple around the buckle and tang end, so it's not going to require any breaking in. Good quality stitching, good quality grained leather. The watch comes protected by this silicone rubber cover, as you can see, which is a good snug fit to the head of the piece. And they deserve credit because this does a good job, and I think other brands should also use this style of silicone rubber cover because it protects the head of the piece for any scuffs or scratches in shipping. One also gets this Atowak tag, and on the reverse we have the barcode and the full reference number of the piece. This is the steel silver version of the Cobra. And lastly, one also gets this cardboard box, and I'll show you the two items it contains. So we have the owner's instruction manual, clear concise diagrams. The instructions are in English and it details the operation of the movement use, which is a modified Miyota caliber 9039 automatic. And lastly, one also gets this cardboard booklet, and inside it contains the plastic warranty card. I'm pleased to report the Cobra is covered by a 2-year international warranty, which is very good. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Atowak Cobra Steel Silver. We have a 43mm case diameter. We have a lug-to-lug measurement of 50mm, a thickness of 16.2mm. The width of the bracelet at the widest point is 22mm, and it tapers from 22 down to 20mm at the 2-button push to point. Sterile clasp, as you can see, and I would like to see Atowak improve upon this and engrave their emblem or logo on the clasp, and that would enhance it. 2-button push triggers to the deployment have a good firm resistance. Both halves of the deployment, open very easily. Nice firm resistance to the springs in the triggers, flawless brushed satin finishing to the top side, underside and flanks of the deployment. Both halves of the deployment snap shut with a nice positive click, and it's got a very strong mechanism, so one isn't going to accidentally deploy it by pressing one or the other of the pushers. One has to press both of the firm pushers in order to get it to deploy. So no sharp edges, no burrs, and no sharp corners to it. It's a very well executed 2-button push deployment. With regards to the bracelet, it uses the same quick release system. As you can see, it engages with a quick release mechanism on the head of the piece, so it has the stainless steel bars as per the strap which I showed you. Beautiful luster to the 316L grade stainless steel bracelet, and the quality of the finishing to the bracelet is very high level. No sharp edges to the flanks, no sharp edges to the underside of the links. It doesn't pull arm hair, and it also articulates very well. We've got no stiff links, so it doesn't kink, and it does feel smooth. There's not too much play in the screw pins in the bracelet. Good attention to detail, because every single edge of every single link has a mirror polished bevel to it, and that's good attention to detail that one doesn't often see on lower price point watches. As you can see, the quality of the mirror polishing on both sides of the bracelet on the edges, which are mirror polished, is outstanding. No sharp edges, no burrs, doesn't have sharp corners. It's fully deburred and chamfered to a very high standard. The bevels are mirror polished to perfection. Brushed satin finish to the flanks, and it's good to see screw pins used rather than the cost-cutting measure of push pins. And the underside of the bracelet is also finished to a flawless standard. Beautiful luster to the stainless steel brushed satin finishing. No sharp edges to the flanks. I like the articulation of it. It's a very smooth bracelet, and they really deserve credit because this is a very high grade finishing. With regards to the head of the piece, it's made from solid 316L grade stainless steel. Now, it also has 2 inlays. Now, these inlaid panels are made from carbon fibre, and they've got a textured finish. They also catch the light very well, and it's nice to see carbon fibre incorporated into the stainless steel head of the piece in these cutouts with these inlays. So very aesthetically pleasing. We've got a combination of finishing, brushed satin finishing, and also we've got flawless mirror polishing to the bevels. And the bevels are really well finished. There's no imperfections or flaws. As you can see, every facet of the head of the piece is finished to an outstanding level. No sharp edges, no sharp points. Beautiful quality beveling and nice undercuts to the head of the piece on the case back, which is screwed down to the head of the piece. Flawless mirror polishing to it. So nice angular profiles. It looks like a futuristic watch, and I really like it. I think the design of the case is innovative and also very aesthetically pleasing. So we've got 2 windows in the head of the piece. The large front window is sapphire crystal, which has clear AR coating, and the top window is also sapphire crystal glazed. Now, in the case back, which is screwed down, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, matte finish to it, and the window is glazed with mineral crystal, and it displays the modified Miyota caliber 9039 automatic. The rotor is decorated and signed with the Atowak logo, as you can see, and nice attention to detail because they've got a black rotor with a silver mirror polished Atowak emblem on it. So nice to be able to see the modified movements through the exhibition case back. The case back is finished to a good standard, no sharp edges to the flanks, engraved with Atowak, and also has these lines engraved which feel very comfortable. So it actually feels like a very comfortable case back against the wrist. And we've also got these 2 quick release mechanisms which I'll be testing. With regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, mirror polished domes cap to it, also signed with an engraved Atowak emblem, and knurled finish to it, no sharp edges to it. It's a push-pull crown which provides an effective hermetic seal to 30 metres, which is perfectly acceptable for a daily wear piece. So, in the closed position, as it's a manual wind crown, a push-pull crown, one can manually wind it to top it up to its maximum 42-hour power reserve. So, absolute pleasure to manually wind the modified Miyota 9039 automatic. It feels silky smooth. One can feel the tension in the mainspring gradually building up. Now, pulling it out to the first click position is the final click position, because we don't have a date complication. The Miyota 9039 is the same as the 9015. It's the no date version of it, so we don't have a date wheel, there's no date complication, and therefore that deletes the phantom date setting position one would get with the 9015. The 9039 is the no date version, so there is only one clicking position on the crown. Now, rotating the crown clockwise, has the effect of rotating the revolving satellite hour wheel with the 3 arms anti-clockwise, as you can see. So it does take some getting used to, because rotating the crown clockwise, one would expect the revolving satellite hour wheel to rotate clockwise, but it actually rotates the opposite direction. It rotates anti-clockwise and vice versa. When I rotate the crown anti-clockwise, one would expect the revolving satellite hour wheel to rotate anti-clockwise, but it actually rotates the opposite direction, clockwise. Absolutely silky smooth. Now, very interesting that they've modified the Miyota 9039, which in itself is a reliable, well-proven workhorse Japanese movement. I really like the 9039. The 9015 and 9039 are 2 of my personal favourites. They are premium grade Miyota movements, and they're made to a higher quality than lower 8000 series movements, such as the 8215 and 8315 respectively. So absolutely silky smooth, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. No friction in the gearing whatsoever. So they've done a very good job with this revolving satellite hour wheel. Now, as you can see, when one cycles through the 60 minutes, this scale, the dial is made from copper, and as you can see, the scale runs from 0 up to 60 for the minutes. As one rotates through the scale, each of the heads on this revolving satellite hour wheel rotate around, and it's very well done because they work very well. The 3-pointed head rotates around, or the revolving satellite hour wheel, and each of these heads, they rotate around to the next hour. So this is made from aluminium and also carbon fibre, so it's very light. And it feels silky smooth. There's no backplay clockwise or anti-clockwise. When one rotates the crown, the revolving satellite hour wheel immediately responds. And I like these needle points. They're very precise, and they give a good indication on the 0 to 60 minute scale, as you can see. Now, it does take some getting used to reading the time. For example, if I set it now at 3:30, there. So you look at the number 3 for 3 on the revolving satellite hour wheel, and you can see the needle points to the revolving satellite hour wheel is now pointing at 30 minutes, so it's now 3:30. And if I rotate it round, the next head comes around, as you can see, and we're now at 4:30. So it does take some getting used to. For example, I'll set it to 4:45. You can see we've now got the 4 o'clock lining up with the 45-minute mark, although it is actually easy to read once one becomes used to it. So this does have hand winding and hacking, but of course we don't have a second hand on the Canon pinion, so therefore one can't set the time precisely to second despite it having hacking. Pushing it back in does have a nice positive click, and that will restart the movements. So it's good one can manually wind it in the closed position, although it is quite difficult to grip the crown because, as you can see, when it's closed it's recessed into the head of the piece. One has to pull it out to set the time, and it's actually quite difficult to grip the knurling because it is a low profile crown. But pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click. 30 metres off hermetic seal is good. So it works very well, and I think it's a very nicely executed 0 to 60 minute scale. And also the heads to the revolving satellite hour wheels, which are made from aluminium and carbon fibre, are finished to a very good standard. Right, so I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report it fits my 8-inch wrist with no difficulty whatsoever. I can in fact slide an index finger underneath the deployment clasp at all times. So this will fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist with no difficulties. And it does feel very comfortable to wear despite being top heavy. Now, it is a tall piece, 16.2mm, needless to say. This isn't going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts easily. That's something to bear in mind. It is a tall piece and it does wear with wrist presence. It's large, but it is deceptively comfortable. 43mm diameter by 50mm lug to lug. So it is a long piece, and straight away I'm going to say, if you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, you may find the 210 grams of heft to be excessive, and this is 210 grams on the bracelet with all the links. On the leather strap it is 115 grams, so that's something to bear in mind. So tall piece at 16.2, top heavy, and also 210 grams. On a 7 to 8 inch wrist, it will feel more comfortable. This is on my 8 inch wrist and it actually feels very comfortable. The articulation of the links in the bracelet is very good, no sharp edges to it, doesn't pull arm hair, feels very smooth. So the bracelet does feel very good, and they've made the correct decision with the taper, 22 down to 20 at the 2-button push deployance. So the taper is good, the luster is good, it's very smooth articulation, but as you can see, the quick release in the head of the piece does add some thickness, and therefore there is a gap between the quick release mechanism on both sides of the head of the piece and also the bracelet. So futuristic looking piece, and I like the glazing of the sapphire crystal in the top, which lets light into it, and also the main aperture, which is also sapphire crystal glazed. 60-minute scale is clearly legible with a minute 6 and also Arabic numerals indexed. And I really like the revolving satellite hour wheel in carbon fibre and aluminium. It's just very interesting to look at. It's an unusual looking piece. Mirror polishing is good to the bevels. The carbon fibre inlay adds interest to both flanks. So it's just a very interesting looking watch. Comfortable to wear and surprisingly easy to read the time. For example, now we are at 4:48. So once one gets used to it, one can quickly look at the hour and also the minute on the scale and read it very quickly. So feel good factor is very good, comfort level is good, but it is top heavy, and on the bracelet it is a heavy piece at 210 grams, but one has to expect that 43mm by 50 is large, and also a 22 to 20 bracelet is a wide bracelet. Right, so let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it's interesting they have fully lumed the Atowak emblem. If you look at 12 o'clock, you can see Atowak's emblem fully lumed. They've clearly used BGW9 Superluminova. So on the revolving satellite wheel, we can see the hours are fully lumed, the Arabic numerals are clearly legible, and also the minute scale, both the minute 6 and also the Arabic numerals on the dial, which is copper, are also fully lumed with BGW9. Now, they could improve upon this because the 3 pointed tips, the needle point tips to the revolving satellite hour wheel, they could lume the tips because, as you can see, one cannot actually see the ends of the hour arms, and it would make more sense if one could register the needle point tips to the arms against the scale. I think if they loomed them with BGW9, that would mean that it serves a purpose, because as it is, one can only see the hour. We're now at 4 o'clock, but one can't actually see, is it 4:48 or is it 4:50, for example. We can't see in the dark. The BGW9 looks like 3 to 4 layers. It is beginning to fade. I think they could improve upon this with 5 to 6 layers. It's beginning to fade now, but it's really there for aesthetic purposes, I think, rather than being functional. To make it functional, they really need to loom the 3 heads, the 3 needle point tips to the revolving satellite hour wheel. But as you can see, aesthetically pleasing. The blue matches on the hour wheels, the hour heads, and also the scale, the 60-minute scale on the copper dial. Right, so let's discuss the movement, because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. Now, Atowak deserve credit for this because they have modified a Miyota caliber 9039, which is made in Japan. So the 9039 is one of my personal favourites. Now, the architecture of the 9039 is the same as the 9015, another personal favourite of mine. The only notable difference between the 9015 and 9039 respectively is the 9039 doesn't have a date complication, there's no date wheel. There is one other notable difference. The 9039 has a lower stack height to the hands, so the cannon pinion is lower, and therefore it means that it's a lower profile movement. The sapphire crystal can sit closer to the dial because the 9039 has a lower hand stack height versus the 9015. So it's particularly suitable for this piece because they've modified it by adding the revolving satellite hour wheel on top of the cannon pinion. Now, had they done this with the 9015, it would have been too tall to give clearance to the sapphire crystals. But as the 9039 has a low hand stack height, it means that it gives enough clearance beneath the sapphire crystals because the revolving satellite hour wheel can sit lower beneath the crystals and also closer to the dial. So they've done a good job, and I'm just going to test it again as I'm talking to you. They've done a very good job of modifying it because they've added on this revolving satellite hour wheel, where normally one would have the cannon pinion and 3 hands, the hour, minute and second hand respectively. They've replaced that with this revolving satellite hour wheel. And there's no play in it whatsoever. I like the fact it's got nice solid gearing to it. Now, they've obviously had to make it from aluminium and carbon fibre to make it very light, and that reduces the load on the cannon pinion beneath it. Otherwise, it would be too heavy and it would deplete the power reserve in the mainspring too quickly. The 9039 is a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement made in Japan. It's a premium grade of Miyota movement, and they've made the correct decision by using the 9039 rather than the lower grade of Miyota movements such as the 8215 or the 8315 respectively. It has 24 joules, it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which is useful complications, although the hacking isn't particularly useful in this case because we don't have a second hand, so one can't set the time precisely to the second, but however it is useful that it has hand winding. 42-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable. The stated accuracy of the standard 9039 is -10 to +30 seconds per day, but of course we don't have a second hand on this, so really the stated accuracy is negligible, but however -10 to +30 is perfectly acceptable. So it's a good movement, it's a premium movement. Now the thing I most like about it is, unlike the 8215 and 8315, which are 8000 series lower grade Miyota movements, they have a noisy rotor. One can hear the ball bearings in the ball bearing race and the rotor spinning round. It's a noisy movement. The 8215 and 8315 are known for having a noisy rotor. 9000 series Miyota movements are premium movements which are higher grade. The 9015 and the 9039 have quieter rotors. So the benefit of that is when you're wearing this on wrist and the rotor's spinning around clockwise and anti-clockwise, it doesn't sound noisy like the 8215. The 9039 sounds quiet. However, the negative of it is still unidirectional winding. The 9039, the rotor has to spin clockwise in order to wind the movement. When the rotor spins anti-clockwise, it has negligible winding effects. So it's still inefficient in that it's not a bidirectional winding movement, it's unidirectional winding. The rotor always has to spin clockwise. So in order to automatically wind it, it either needs 1,200 turns per day on an automatic watch winder, or alternatively one would need to wear this for 8 to 12 hours per day to wind it to its 42 hours. Alternatively, one could manually wind it. Now, when the 9039 is stopped dead, one can manually wind the mainspring to its maximum 42 hours, giving it 40 clockwise turns. So that's an alternative if you don't want to use an automatic watch winder and wind it 1,200 turns per day. You can manually wind it from a dead stop with 40 clockwise turns if you don't want to wear it for 8 to 12 hours per day. So it's a good movement. I think it's the correct choice, and I really like the modification. I haven't seen this done before with the revolving satellite hour wheel with the 3 arms, the 3 heads and needle points. I just would like to see them fully Lume, the needle pointers, with BGW9, because then one could register in the dark the 0 to 60 hour scale, because at the moment one cannot see them. But I appreciate in daylight it does look aesthetically pleasing to have the needle points to the revolving satellite hour wheel. So very aesthetically pleasing and very easy to read the time. One does get accustomed to it very quickly. Now, lastly, I'll summarise the piece. So what do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price points. So the quality to the finishing, to the head of the piece, the bracelet and the deployment are outstanding throughout. No imperfections whatsoever. But really, to fully evaluate the piece, one needs to test out this quick release system. So what I'm going to do is remove one of my gloves. I think I'll choose my right hand to do this. Let's test out the quick release system, because this is innovative. They haven't used spring bars, they've used these spring loaded quick releases. So in order to remove the bracelet, one simply sticks your thumbnail inside the spring loaded clasp and twist the bracelet, and then it comes out like so. So I'm just going to click it back in to show it to you how it works. So one simply just engages the stainless steel screw bar into it and just pushes it in with pressure. Now, it does take firm pressure to get it to click in, and the same with releasing it. It's not going to accidentally come out. There's no risk of the screw bar accidentally twisting and coming out. So one simply puts the thumbnail in the slot and it unclicks. So I'm just going to do it on the other side to test it. So just to get your thumbnail, and where you have the slot there, you press it in and twist the bracelet and it unclicks. So this is innovative, and this is the first time I've seen this used on the head of the piece, as you can see. Very well finished quick releases to both sides to the head of the piece, and the springs are very stiff. There's a lot of torsion in them, so one has to really pull with the thumbnail to get it to open. It's not going to accidentally deploy. And I think these stainless steel springs are going to last for a good length of time. They're not going to wear, because I can feel the tension in both of them. They feel very tight. One has to really prise open. Now, the stainless steel bars are also thick enough. I'm glad that they haven't used thin bars, because they could distort or bend or break. These are going to be durable. So I'll just show you close up. If you look, you simply take the bar and engage it. And you really have to grip the head of the piece firmly in your left hand and grip the bracelet firmly. And then you press it in and it just clicks in like that. I'll show you the other one again. So as you can see, you have to get a good grip of the head of the piece and a good grip with your finger and thumb on the end of the bracelet and push it in, and it clicks in with a nice positive click. It's very reassuring. It's not going to accidentally come off. So I really like it. Now I'm just going to test it on the leather strap and just see how easy it is to change it. I mean, this is an innovation. I haven't seen this done before. And Atowak deserve credit, because as you can see, one doesn't need a spring bar tool to remove the bracelet and fit the strap. So I'm just going to test out the strap. I'll put it on the right way up. So as you can see, we've got these double-ended screw bars with flat heads either end, and one simply engages it, as you can see, and one has to press it in quite firmly in order to get it to click in. But it's a nice tight fit. It doesn't slide about on the bar. The bar engages very well, and it doesn't feel like it's going to accidentally come out. So I'm just going to check removing it, pressing in the thumbnail hard, and then you twist it and it pops out, as you can see. So I'm just going to try fitting the other side and we'll see how it goes on. So I like it. It does take some getting used to. One has to really press it hard to open it up, and also press it hard to get the bar to engage. But it does snap in every single time very well. Now, I can't do a wrist shot with this leather strap, or I think I might be able to actually, just bear with me. Yes, I can. Right, so the buckle and tang, as you can see, the tang just engages with the second hole in the strap, but it's a fraction too short from 8-inch wrist to engage the end of the strap with both keepers. But I'm pleased I can give you a wrist shot with the leather strap. So this does significantly reduce the heft of the piece. It's 210 grams with all the links in the stainless steel bracelet. On this leather strap, it reduces the heft down to 115 grams. So notable difference in the heft, 115 grams on the leather strap versus 210 on the bracelet. Does feel very top heavy on the leather strap. Now it is very aesthetically pleasing. There's a nice taper on the padded leather strap, nice grained finish to the matte black leather, and the mirror polished bevels to the sign buckle and tang are very good. Strap's very comfortable. Doesn't feel soft. Doesn't feel stiff. It's very soft and supple. So it is a good alternative to reduce the heft, but it does feel very top heavy because it's a 16.2mm head of the piece, 50mm long by 43mm diameter. But I'm pleased that I was able to show you the leather strap. I thought it was going to be too short from 8-inch wrist to do up the buckle and tang. If it were a fraction longer, it would engage both keepers, but for the majority of collectors with a 6 to 7.5-inch wrist, this will suffice. So I'll just check removing it and just see. So again, one puts the thumbnail in the slots and then twists it. I'm actually surprised at how easily it is to remove the leather strap. So just pushing the thumbnail in, and it's like a twisting action with the bar. It snaps out. So I'm just going to put back on the bracelet, as you can see, very easily engages. Now it doesn't matter which way up you put the bracelet on because it's unsigned, so it can go on both the 6 o'clock and the 12 o'clock side. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, I'm going to declare it excellent quality, but however, I'm going to say the value is poor because at $1,999 it is an expensive piece. Now, I appreciate it has a 2-year warranty, the quality of the watch box and the items are very good. The leather strap's good, the bracelet is good, and the head of the piece is good. But really, to make this good value, they need to reduce the price to, I think, below $1,000 to make it competitive. I appreciate there is a lot of work in modifying a Miyota caliber 9039 automatic with the revolving satellite hour wheel. They deserve credit for this. The specification is good, and the use of innovative materials such as carbon fibre and aluminium on the aluminium and carbon fibre revolving satellite hour wheel. So excellent quality but poor value. I think they need to reduce the price. But having said that, during the Black Friday sale, Atowak will be reducing the prices by 25%. So I think that makes the watch more competitive. So I'm going to recommend it to you for consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Atowak Cobra Steel Silver. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.